It's the Phoenix, Arizona weather discussion. This is for Tuesday, the 26th of August. I'm Michael Groff. What a storm last night. It all started around 5 p.m. with those strong, gusty winds moving into the valley, a huge wall of dust, and some of those winds were downright severe. We saw a wind gust of 70 miles per hour at Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport with zero visibility, and the airport had to be shut down for a time, not only due to the wind and the low visibility, but also because of some debris on the runway. Now, following the wind, we even had some rain across the area. Check out these rainfall totals from last night, and you can see just about everybody had at least a little bit of measurable rain, and a fairly good swath of the valley had at least a tenth to a quarter of an inch, with some spots having quite a bit more than that. 1.12 inches at Pringle, that's nice. And some spots in the Southeast Valley picking up a half to 3/4 of an inch. So the natural question you're going to be asking is, do we have a chance at a repeat performance tonight? When you step outside this morning, yeah, it sure feels like a very tropical air mass in place, and it's going to be very muggy out there today. But what about those rain chances? We'll talk about that. Temperatures will be down today, tomorrow, even into Thursday, before we see some recovery in afternoon highs for this upcoming holiday weekend. And we'll take a look at rain chances and everything all the way through the next 7 to 10 days. There's a lot to talk about, and we'll get to all of it and everything else in just a moment. Hey, everyone, it's Michael Groff here to talk to you about your roof. With all the extreme weather we have in Arizona, you need a name you can trust, and that's why you should call Blackstone Roofing Group for all of your roofing needs. Call for your free inspection today. Big or small, they do it all. Tile, shingle, or flat roofing, they can help. Offering free inspections and more. Roofing made easy. Call 602-536-9363 or visit blackstoneroofinggroup.com to schedule your free inspection today. And if you tell them Michael Groff sent you, they'll take $500 off the price of your roof replacement. Again, that's 602-536-9363 or blackstoneroofinggroup.com. All right, let's get into it. The almanac from yesterday, 103 degrees was the afternoon high. That low of 76, that wasn't a morning low. That occurred just after 6 p.m. with all the storms that came on in. 105 and 83 are the averages for this time of year. Sky Harbor Airport yesterday picking up 0.29 of an inch of rain. And that brings our monthly total to about 1/3 of an inch. And unfortunately, we've barely put a dent in our rainfall deficit, and we're still woefully behind on rainfall even for the monsoon season. But hey, every little bit helps, I suppose. Also, today is the last day of that 7 p.m. sunset or later. After today, down to 6:59, it just continues to get earlier thereafter. All right, as we take a look outside right now here at 8:30 a.m., we've got scattered clouds, 81 degrees at Sky Harbor, but it is air you can wear out there. Look at that dew point at 72. My goodness, relative humidity 74%. The winds are light. The barometer is rising. All right, temperatures out there right now, mainly in the mid-70s to low 80s across the area. That's not bad, but that's only half the story. Look at the dew points. Wow. Mid-60s to mid-70s. And again, that is Gulf Coast kind of humidity that we're experiencing out there today. And so that's going to help to hold temperatures down a bit, though. All right, checking out the radar right now, you can see some widely scattered showers have developed across parts of southeast Arizona from Tucson up to southeastern Pinal County. A few showers and storms well off to our north and west, but here in the greater Phoenix area and the surrounding area, it's pretty quiet at the moment. Satellite picture out here across the southwest. You can see how things kind of evolved over the last 16, 18 hours or so. And that big thunderstorm complex developed over southern and southeast Arizona yesterday, as we anticipated, with all that sun that allowed the atmosphere to destabilize very quickly down there yesterday and brought all those storms into the lower deserts. So much needed rain across much of the area, even southwest Arizona. I know we have people that watch us down there in Yuma. They had a rainfall record yesterday, 1.12 inches of rain. That broke the daily record from 1982 of 0.56 of an inch for the 25th of August. So even Yuma getting in on the heavy rain. Remember, Yuma averages less than 3 inches of rain a year. So that's pretty awesome. All right, watch warning map across the area. Yes, of course, we still have some heat out here across the west and some red flag warnings. Even though we're getting in on the rain, there are still many, many places out here in the west that are hot and dry. Now, with troughing coming into the west, that's going to help to cool things off over the next few days. The convective outlook for today, we don't anticipate any organized severe weather, but the state is in the green. Thunderstorms are possible, and any one storm can always become severe during the monsoon season. The tropics and the Atlantic Basin, pretty quiet. We still have Fernand out there, but that's not going to last much more than another day or so. That's a weakening system. It's not going to affect anyone. We're not worried about that. In the East Pacific, a couple of tropical waves, one southeast of the Hawaiian Islands, one is off the Mexican coast. We're going to keep an eye on that one. And we have Juliet. And Juliet's interesting because this is moving off to the northwest, and some of this moisture could get caught up in this west coast trough and be advected northward, but probably not into our area. This will be further to the west across California and up into the Great Basin. So we'll watch how that evolves. But anytime there's tropical action out there in the East Pacific, hey, we keep an eye on things there. Closer to home, the precipitation outlook. This is valid through Tuesday morning of next week. Rain amounts in Phoenix, maybe a few hundredths to a tenth of an inch. Could see a bit more than that, of course, across the rest of the state. The higher elevations in east central and southeast Arizona. Pretty heavy rainfall totals over parts of southwest New Mexico, where maybe 2 inches of rain could fall. But whenever we show you this graphic, you know when I tell you, your amount will vary. This represents an average of what you'll see across the area. So what the heck is going on with this weather pattern? Well, we'll talk about this in more detail right now as we get to the models. See what the future may hold. Here we go, the GFS. This is the 06Z run, and it's valid 2 o'clock this afternoon. The upper look at 500 millibars. It's about 18,000 feet off the ground. Big trough for the east, still that nice, cool, dry fall air, that continental air mass. Sounds fantastic for the Great Lakes and much of the east. The middle Atlantic states going to feel beautiful. But out here in the west, there's a big ridge over western Canada, and so the heat continues over the Pacific Northwest and the Intermountain West. And around here, we've got this little trough that's kind of snuck underneath that ridge along the California coast, and that's going to be ultimately what starts to dry us out. But for today, what we have down at the surface, we'll be partly cloudy the rest of the day today. Warm, not hot, just warm and very humid. So the old misery index is going to be up there today. High temperatures this afternoon. How about mid to upper 90s? Not even making 100 degrees. So that's really not bad. Obviously, with the higher humidity, though, it's still going to feel pretty miserable. Widely scattered showers and thunderstorms will develop across the state. We've seen some this morning. We'll continue to see those pop up, but the majority of those will not be over the south central deserts. Again, we could see a few, but we've got a lot of factors working against us today. Number one, with all the storms we had last night, that's sufficiently worked over the atmosphere. So the lapse rates are going to be shallower with all that rain-cooled air. I know temperatures only in the mid to upper 90s this afternoon doesn't sound bad, but if we wanted to see thunderstorms, we need temps to be a little bit hotter than that to achieve that convective trigger temperature. On top of that, with the shallower lapse rates, the more stable air, we have some drier air that's sitting up there toward the mid-levels of the atmosphere, up about 18 to 20,000 feet and above. And so any storms that develop are going to kind of run into that. And unless we had a really good forcing mechanism to really push this very moist air up into that dry air, things are going to stay with pretty low-topped convection, which means it's shallow. It could still produce some brief heavy rain, but it's not going to be that deep convection like we saw yesterday. Now, if we had a forcing mechanism, a disturbance that pushed this very moist air into that extremely dry air that's up there, that would actually be a good setup for severe weather. We just don't see that today. Let me kind of illustrate this a little bit better with a forecast sounding. We'll really geek out. We've been doing this a lot lately. I mean, this is a weather video that is kind of designed for geeks, but this is pushing the nerdometer way into the red, okay? So this is a forecast sounding at 5 p.m. today coming off the HRRR, and you can see there, represented kind of in the left side of your screen, kind of in the center there, that dry air in the mid-levels, again, about the 500 millibar level and up, extremely dry. And now everything else, look, we've got a little bit of CAPE, almost no convective inhibition other than the dry air. So that's fine. Mixing ratios are good, over 10, 11 grams per kilogram. Precipitable water values are certainly sufficient for rain. So any storms, again, that develop today will still be capable of producing some brief heavy rain. And another reason we say that is because look at the shear values, only about 10 to 15 knots. So any storms that develop will be slow moving, so they wouldn't last too long, but where you do get them, some locally heavy rain could occur. And obviously in a setup like this, we're not looking at severe weather, but as mentioned, any one storm in the monsoon can always become at least briefly severe. All right, for tonight, we'll see some widely scattered storms possible overnight with lows mainly in the 70s to low 80s. And then tomorrow, we're going to see more dry air beginning to intrude on the region thanks to this trough to the west of us, the flow aloft switching more out of the southwest. But what's kind of interesting is this is the HRRR tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock. It's got some popcorn storms kind of developing across southern Arizona. These little pulse type storms that'll get going. So we could see a few showers and storms tomorrow. We can't keep those out of the forecast. And with the trough getting closer, that might help to provide at least a little bit of additional forcing in here for the day tomorrow. So we'll keep an eye on that. It's kind of a tricky forecast, but we'll keep at least a low chance of precipitation. High temperatures pretty similar, upper 90s to about 102 degrees. All right, let's go to Thursday. The dry air continues to move in here. We'll just be partly cloudy, high temperatures somewhere in the upper 90s to about 102. As we go to Friday, temperatures will recover a little bit. Highs about 100 to 105 here in the lower deserts. We're dry. Hardly really any storms to be found except for east central and southeast Arizona where some widely scattered storms are possible. We'll continue with the dry weather on Saturday. High temperatures creeping back up to around 102 to 107. It might tack on a degree or so on Sunday. But notice green coming back in on the map across New Mexico and east central southeast Arizona. We've got a ridge that's starting to build back from Texas north and westward toward New Mexico. The flow aloft will gradually try to switch back out of the south and southeast for some widely scattered storms there. And so the Labor Day weekend may not be totally dry across the state. In fact, again, some storms. If you're heading over to the White Mountains or the southeastern part of the state, be aware of that. And by Monday, Labor Day, storms might become a bit more widespread. At least widely scattered showers and storms across a good chunk of the eastern 2/3 of the state, including here in the lower deserts. Now, we're not going to go hog wild on rain chances here, probably only in the 10 to 20% bracket, but still, the chance of storms will be with us maybe as early as Labor Day. Now, high temperatures will come back down a couple of degrees with the increased moisture, some clouds around at times, and so that chance of storms. So highs maybe a couple of degrees above average, but nothing that crazy for the beginning of September. Highs probably about 102 to 106. And the average high in Phoenix on the 1st of September is 104 degrees. So that's not really anything unusual. All right, a week from today, this is Tuesday, the 2nd of September. Some interesting things are happening here. Ridging is to the east. There's another trough that's off to the west of us, this little kind of upper low that's sitting there over Oregon, Northern California, and then a big ridge over the Northeast Pacific. So, and we see some evidence of another tropical system developing down to the south of us. So even if the flow kind of starts to turn more southerly, we could still see a pretty good amount of moisture being imported in the state for some scattered showers and thunderstorms. So we've kind of seen a trend of the models here to ramp precipitation chances up across the area, despite the fact that this is not the most ideal synoptic setup for storms around here. And you can see that scattered showers and storms next Tuesday, and high temperatures not that bad, generally only about 101 to 106 here in the lower deserts. This is Wednesday, the 3rd of September. Again, the GFS has this low right along the California coast, and maybe some stronger jet dynamics. But look, there's a tropical system down there off the Baja. And we're going to watch how that evolves in this setup. But I'm going to tell you right now, all right, spoiler alert, model spread huge out here as we go into next week. There are a ton of question marks as to how all of these things are going to play out. And I will tell you, I'm not completely buying into the GFS solution here. All right, this is out 10 days. This is Thursday, the 4th of September. Now, if this is right, there's a low there along the central California coast. We've got more of a southwesterly flow, but we've got this tropical cyclone down here off the Baja, and some of that moisture might start to get advected up this way. A setup like that could even turn that tropical cyclone in our direction. Not saying that's going to happen, probably doesn't happen, but that's one minor idea that's on the table. But let me just show you, just for shiggles here, let's go out and take a look at what the European says at the exact same time. This is Thursday, the 4th of September. Well, it doesn't have a tropical cyclone at all. It's got a ridge well to the north of us, centered across Idaho, Utah, and nosing all the way up into western Canada and toward Alaska. And if that's right, the flow aloft here is easterly. And so we could at least have some widely scattered showers and thunderstorms, kind of a monsoon forecast with a pretty deep trough across the east. And I kind of wonder in that setup, if we have this big trough over the eastern half of the country, how far south that dry air goes, if it gets into the southern plains and then that starts to get entrenched into this ridge. I don't know about that. This is way out at 10 days, and I guarantee you things are going to change between now and then. There is just way too much model spread to have any certainty at all with regard to what will happen next week, but those are a couple of the ideas on the table. So we can't completely rule out more monsoon activity next week. I guess that's the bottom line to this entire sort of spiel I'm going on here. This geek talk that we do here on these weather discussions every day. All right, looking at rainfall for Phoenix. This goes out through the 9th of September. This is off the GFS ensemble. And the mean, again, half an inch. More than half an inch, about 2/3 of an inch. European ensemble. Again, half inch, 2/3 of an inch for the mean. And every single member shows rain in here over the next couple of weeks. So we're probably not done with the monsoon. I would hope not, because we've barely had a monsoon. We've had a little bit, there's some signs of life in the monsoon that we've seen over the last 7 to 10 days. Still not really ideal, but yesterday was at least something nice. And hopefully we'll at least see a few storms today, but I wouldn't really count on much more than that. At least not for the rest of this week. All right, looking at temperatures off the national blend of models, we'll trend back to slightly above average levels as we head into the weekend and early next week, but then overall highs will trend back down ever so slightly. Will we have any more 110-degree days? That's the next question that's out there. And I would still say yes. I mean, this is only the 26th of August, and given how the climate has gone in Phoenix over the last 10 to 20 years, I don't think we're done with 110-degree days. The NBM is only a degree off of that here by later this weekend, early next week. So we will see. But I would say that they are pretty limited from this point going forward. And if things do play out kind of as advertised, yeah, we may be done with those before too much longer. All right, let's check out the Climate Prediction Center outlook. This is for the period of the 8 to 14-day period. September 2nd through the 8th, if this works out, temperatures near average across Arizona, maybe slightly above average, but that's not bad. Precipitation above average during that September 2nd through the 8th period. So again, the guys over at CPC are certainly leaning with more of a monsoon favorable pattern here over the next 8 to 14 days, and we sure could use that. And that is going to do it for the Phoenix, Arizona weather discussion for today. My next video due back here tomorrow morning. Should you happen to enjoy these videos, be sure to subscribe, like, share, click that notification bell, leave those comments, questions, and suggestions. If you're really enjoying what we do here, you want to support the channel, one way to do that is by clicking that thanks icon below the video and making a donation to us that way, or via PayPal. groffshow@gmail.com is that PayPal address. That's GROFF show@gmail.com for PayPal. Of course, you can also use our Venmo. Again, all of those links, all that stuff is all linked up down below in the description. The executive producer of the Phoenix, Arizona weather discussion is my OAO, the sweetest of all time, the Asian sensation and proprietor of sweetchildaz.com.org and the Facebook page of the same name, Sweet Child Arizona. Talking about my Michelle, check her out. Blogs, videos, everything Michelle related, likely Adriana related. It is all linked up down in the description, as is our streaming station, available 24/7, 365. It's called KMGX. Play a ton of music, have a lot of fun with that. Check out Dan over at the Courtroom Files YouTube channel, The Courtroom Files on YouTube, or courtroomfiles.com for all of your TCF merch. Okay, I think I have covered everything. Thank you guys so much for watching. All of your continued support. It's amazing. It's so greatly appreciated. Please be safe, stay cool, stay hydrated out there, and have yourselves a delightful rest of your Tuesday. So, super mega bonus content right here. I did forget to plug the fact that I will be appearing over on the Courtroom Files YouTube channel tonight, along with Dan, Bailey, Ashley. Yes, it's our show Sidebar tonight, 8 p.m. East, 5 Pacific, over there on the Courtroom Files YouTube channel. So, yes, I wanted to make sure I promoted that because, you know, it involves me. So, but seriously, if you want to check out more of our content, and go over there to the Courtroom Files channel tonight, 8 East, 5 Pacific for Sidebar. All right, goodbye, everybody.